the thing. But I want to make sure that when you provide your information, everybody gets to hear it and see it and go and see it and watch it because it really needs to be one of those situations where because there's a lot of questions for people and people are not sure what the difference between the two are. And we've had questions from people. Why are they donating to this link when for years they've been donating to the Democratic Party? And it's always been Act Blue. What is so different this time?
Okay, most definitely.
And just so you know, some other groups have Act Blue,
Mhm.
and we have the Victory Fund. So everyone, Darian Flowers, if you can introduce yourself and what your role is, and so people would know where you're coming from and the information that you have for us.
Okay, fantastic. Well, once again, thank you so much for having me. My name is Darian Flowers. I'm the Black Leadership Council Finance Director for the DNC and for the Harris Victory Fund. The Harris Victory Fund is a joint fundraising agreement between the Harris for President as well as the general account, our 51 different state accounts, including the District of Columbia, and to where basically the allocation allowing individuals to contribute larger sums. Usually, that individuals are capped at 6,600, 3,300 per election. For contributing directly to a campaign, but through this vehicle, we're allowed to accept larger sums, and we're allowed to use that to help Democrats up and down the ballot, but as well to bolster our media program and various different organizing efforts throughout the nation. And so ultimately, Act Blue and to discuss Act Blue and NGP, I will say Act Blue is just kind of a different just conduit in which it ultimately rolls into our NGP. The NGP is actually our back end software, and so whenever we're having individuals donate, it's basically just going more so directly to us rather than going through the Act Blue interface. Additionally, we're able to track your efforts just on our end with the Victory Fund a little bit more closely, and then we're able to there's a national finance committee and various different perks that individuals can qualify for, and as you become a larger partner of ours. So that's pretty much just the difference there. It ultimately will end up going to the same bank account at the end of the day, but ultimately it's just a different conduit in which we're able to track a little bit better, and for you to kind of participate within the Victory Fund.
So some of the questions people have had is that for years they've been donating to the Democratic Party through Act Blue, and now we're sending them a link that looks different from the Act Blue link.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they're concerned about where this money is going and why is it different from the Harris campaign itself, because the Harris campaign itself I think is Act Blue,
Mm-hmm.
and then the Victory Fund is NGP.
Yes, as I said, it's just primarily the major donor portion of the campaign. And as I said, it is a joint fundraising agreement to where the campaign is the first to receive the funds with the
Okay.
allocation of 6,600.
Does anybody in here have any questions? And we'll take questions also from the audience if anyone any attendees have any questions about that. Um,
Um, I do have a question. Darren, again, thank you so much. I know you guys have a busy schedule joining us tonight. I
Mhm.
wanted to know, as a group, Africans in the diaspora for Harris, if we want to kind of organize, kind of get out the vote, voter registrations in some of the battleground states, who's within the campaign will be able to kind of link up with so we can get started as a group.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I can get you connected with our political side, who has, the best kind of conduit to that. Fatima, to definitely make sure that that we will make sure that we connect immediately after this, and we'll make sure that we disseminate his information to the group, and we also see if we can set up some follow up to have a discussion about what that exactly looks like. What where you want the phone banks. We want to organize in-person efforts. We're very flexible for individuals who want to help.
Okay. Thank you.
And most definitely.
Yeah, we'll send an email out tomorrow.
All right, sounds good. Oh,
Anybody
yeah,
else have a question? You can
yeah.
just unmute yourself.
Ms. Stevens.
Hey, Darren, thank you for the work that you're doing. Quick question. As we are increasing our, as we're providing education on our social media platforms, do you have content or data already that basically explains what you stated earlier about the Victory Fund versus Act Blue, et cetera, that we can share for informational knowledge so individuals understand the differences and we can reference them to that information on our social media platforms?
So unfortunately, we don't have a one pager kind of explaining like a difference because, as I said, it's ultimately goes to the same bank account, the same conduit. And I will say this has not necessarily been too much of an issue for us. And so, but we can very much I will say the disclaimer at the bottom, the legal disclaimer is usually the tell of legitimacy because it says that it is going to benefit the
Disclaimer
campaign.
at the bottom. Okay, so maybe that's something we could potentially utilize for our community then, just to decrease some of those questions.
Yeah, no, most definitely, yeah. But it breaks down eligibility on who can give as well as where it's going.
Awesome. Thank you.
Oh, your time.
Anybody else has any questions? But Darren, before he skedaddles, he has like gazillion meetings.
Yeah, I
that
got
he
a
has to take care of.
9:15 p.m. meeting.
There you go, 9:15 p.m. meeting. Anybody else? Are we good? All right, Darren, we really, really appreciate you taking the time, especially short notice and all, to come and explain. So it's on video, it's recorded. We'll make sure we share that with the public for them to be aware of what the differences are and that it means nothing. All the money is going into the same spot. So the major difference is that with what we have with NGP, you can actually trace to see what's coming from the African immigrant community.
Exactly. Yeah, because of the way that we can formulate the URLs, we're able to, and then we're able to track it. So all the contributions that go through the specific Africans in the Diaspora for Harris URL, we can see basically through, and I think that you all have access, but through a Razor tool, it's pretty user friendly on the back end and allows individuals to, see the progress and everything that comes through the link.
So what's the max that an individual can donate for this Harris Fund?
For the Harris Victory Fund? Okay, yes, there is, and apologies as I just got off a plane, so my mind is a little around, but approximately $929,000.
What a random number, $929,000.
And I'll share somewhat of a breakdown with you, but it's just a various different allocation to, as I said, the campaign. There's a $10,000 allocation to each state party as well. And so, and then ultimately a couple other funds that includes a litigation fund, a recount fund, if, things get to the wire in certain states, that allows them to help and also, things that support voter protection efforts. All right. And then actually,
I
one last question
hand
from Ms.
raised.
John.
Mahini?
Yes. Hi, good evening, everyone. I just wanted to ask, I know that obviously, there is, our numbers are very important. And also from a monetary perspective, donations are huge. But outside from just donating from a financial perspective, what are other ways that you see us, or what other ways that we can contribute to the Harris campaign.
Okay, perfect. And we'll say I wasn't always a fundraiser. I started off in organizing, so I'll take that hat off and dust my old hat off. But yeah, I think there's a lot of different ways that individuals can be helpful. Each door knocked, each call made, each individual that we've contacted shifts the needle that much more. And ultimately, I know that there's a lot of excitement around here, but it's good for individuals to physically harness that excitement and to like really hit the streets. And so one thing is, and as I'll make sure that we're connecting with the political side and the organizing team, but ultimately organizing phone banks. I know that you have a pretty wide membership as well, so block walking and doing things and setting that up with your local campaign office is definitely something that is really helpful. And then ultimately, I always said that everyone is a surrogate this cycle. We all have to be the individuals to really get that word out. And so, I will say, keep on doing what we're doing here, continuing to congregate, continuing to share ideas and seeing how we can, turn out, have the best turnout that we've had in recent memory. And so, yeah, but I'd say that, there's a lot of different volunteering opportunities, a lot of fundraising opportunities, as I said. So, and as I'll make sure that I drop my contact information for that. But yeah, that's how I would see you all, coming to the plate and also, being helpful because dollars do not vote.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
Oh, no, anytime.
All right. Everybody done? Perfect. Thank you, Darren. And I will look out for the email and we'll touch base about everything else.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And yeah, I hope that you all have a wonderful evening. And once again, just thank you all so much for your hard work, your hard-earned dollars, and everything you're doing to push the needle in the favor of justice and democracy.
Thanks, Darren.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good luck on your next meeting.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. On that note, our next speaker, but before we get to the bishop, just as a reminder for everyone. Oh, I missed a question. Okay, Thomas Cooper wants to join the campaign team in Michigan. Okay, I'll send that question. If you're some of the campaign team over there, I'll send the question to Darren and see if we can get an answer for you, okay? So on that note, let's say Dr. Bishop Robert. So Fuad?
Yes, so I believe the next speaker is Dr. Bishop Robert Kelly, right?
Yes, I'm not a doctor though.
Okay, Mr. Robert Kelly, the Democrats abroad, please, it's your turn to speak, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you all for inviting me to come to the session, and what a great time.
Your mic sounds really low, Bishop Kelly.
All right, hold on a second. I encounter this from time to time. How's that? Maybe I'll just speak a little louder. Is that better?
Yeah, that's better. Okay, hear you.
Great. So thank you again for this invitation. I think it's probably my only second call of this nature, at least outside of the Democrats abroad context. So just 2 minutes of some background. I just been involved with Democrats abroad since 2008. Myself and my partner formed the first country committee for the party in South Africa on the continent. So it's a number of years old now. It's called Democrats Abroad South Africa. We also have another country committee in Kenya, that was formed just about 2 years ago. And of course, we're looking to form other country committees around the continent. So my area specifically is the continent of Africa, all 54 countries. And our mandate as the African Committee is to register Democrats to vote. As you know, there are close to 6 million Americans living overseas. Probably maybe somewhere maybe 10 to 15% of that number are people who live on the African continent, who are made up of being American citizens who are there for various reasons, African citizens who are also considered U.S. citizens because they have the ability to vote. Sometimes we refer to them as dual citizens. And so over the last election cycle, for example, maybe the last two, you found that there was not a whole lot of interest among dual citizens because we didn't really stress the idea of dual citizens voting. We, for the most part, were always focusing on Americans who were, you know, quote unquote American, who wanted to vote because they lived overseas. And so you used absentee ballots. So in the day, back in the day, I mean, really far back, don't ask me how far back, but before we had these country committees, U.S. embassies overseas weren't allowed to do anything in terms of the voting process. It was considered to be sort of off limits, that they did not help any particular party. Although an embassy is usually, the embassy representatives are there usually representing the incumbent party, right? So as a result, what happened back in this time, my church actually used to be a information location for people who lived in overseas in South Africa who wanted to vote in the U.S. elections. And all you had to do was just be an American citizen. So we didn't care whether or not you were dual citizen, as long as you were an American citizen. It's interesting because, in fact, while we don't have real studies on the numbers, if we were to think about this very strongly, at my age, I would say I have met far more African immigrants or African citizens in the United States who were studying, came there to work, get medical degrees, law degrees, get their PhDs, and some came as a result of diplomacy or diplomatic appointments of their parents. Some were authors, teachers, artists. I've met far more of those types of that profile than I've met actually of African Americans who have gone to the continent. And so it's a far greater number, I believe, of US citizens who are not Americans that have the right to vote. And so one of our drives this cycle, particularly after it became particularly Harris Walsh, is to look for that population very uniquely and having a drive to have some impact to increase that number. The American citizens are often well canvassed. Some of them have participated in this process before. And now the embassies also, US and otherwise, are also encouraging American citizens to vote. They have sometimes pouches, mail pouches, where they can actually send their ballots through the mail. But of course, for the most part, now a lot of it is electronic. One of the preferred, I should say the preferred voting channel for Democrats abroad that we recommend is Vote From Abroad. Vote From Abroad is a vehicle that allows you to vote Democrat or Republican or independent. It's a bipartisan vehicle. Secondly, it's a category just for youth as well, which has a different rule element when you come into the U.S. election system when you're living abroad. The other thing about that is that you actually get a second chance to vote, because you can not only do the electronic version and fax it, you can also email it in. Now, one of the benefits also about vote from abroad is that sometimes, and I don't want to give a percentage because I don't know, but I would say we do have a link. We have a help desk for people who live overseas who are voting, and when they get to their electoral position in their state, the electoral office, wherever that may be, depends on state from state. If they have some difficulty for whatever reason, we're able to back them up. Because it's very frustrating to put your vote through and all of a sudden it's rejected for some reason and you don't even know why. Or no one can verify that the vote has actually ever been received. We didn't get your fax, we didn't get your email, and you missed the deadline. And so we're able to help a citizen. Otherwise, it's one person going against the state of Georgia or the state of Nevada all by themselves, and that's really just unfair. Because sometimes the rules with respect to overseas residents change, and the person who lives in that state who's is not there, is unable to understand or know that the rules have been changed since the last election cycle. And so we stay on top of that. Oh, you had to live here for a year, and we didn't know that you lived overseas permanently, so you can't vote. Or we didn't know you had a change of address. Or oh, you haven't paid taxes here in the last couple of years. We can't allow you to vote here. So there's a whole lot of things that kind of get employed unfairly as a result of changes in the cycle. And as you know, in these times, some of that is about suppression rather than procedure. So Democrats abroad, we've been around. We're considered a state in essence. We have a very effective process. We do a lot to help voters regardless of who you're voting for. And that's one of the benefits of it. Because I think for the most part, one of the reasons that Democrats abroad has been so effective across the globe is that people get a better understanding of what democracy is about. In this particular election cycle, because when I said 6 million Americans live overseas, I think that in the last election cycle, although it had increased significantly, we only saw votes totally of all classifications of only about 14%. And so that's a very small number of Americans who live overseas. Only 14% out of 6 million. And so, as you know, even 20% could significantly make a difference in a lot of midterms. We've seen midterm impact from votes of persons that live overseas. And if you got, 40 people from a small town in Texas that live overseas and they all come together, those 40 votes can matter in that particular district significantly. So I want to thank you for the opportunity to come on. A question was asked a little earlier of, can you help otherwise than with money? So we have I think I sent it to Fatima earlier, and she can drop it in the link. We have a phone banking system. It's anybody can join it. You sign in, you go to your party, and you're in the phone banking mechanism. Phone banking is a very effective vehicle, not expensive. All you do is go in and go by the system. You get a list, you sign the confidentiality agreement, you're off and running. The other thing, I think I mentioned the help desk element. That's also very important. But if you can, just encourage everybody knows someone who's living overseas for the most part. And just give them a call and say, hey, are you voting in this election? Have you got a way to vote? Have you figured it out yet? Do you have a voting plan? So by September 21st, anyone who lives overseas has to receive their ballot no matter what state they're from or registered with by September 21st. And so right now, each individual has to look at their own state. If you have colleagues that are living overseas, you have to look at their own state and see when exactly their deadline is for that state. If they've missed the deadline, it's the possibility that they could meet the deadline in another state, although they've never lived there. And that's an important criteria. So thank you for this opportunity. If you have any questions, I'm around, but certainly welcome the opportunity to be unified with all of you in a very important and consequential election.
So how can they qualify to register in another state if they've never lived there? Is there a process or a general process? Is there somewhere to go find that information, or do you have that information?
If you go to some of your blue states, and I can give a shout out because I'm originally from Washington, D.C. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Washington, D.C., which is not a state, still allows you to register there if you have been denied the ability to register in the state that you're from. I think, if I'm not mistaken, New York is another one. So, and I think that that's a great advantage, because if your state changed the address requirement or the tax requirement or the residency requirement, you don't have time to figure that out when you're trying to vote.
Yeah, basically. So I have dropped in the chat some of the links that Bishop Kelly sent me earlier. So there's several in there about training, to make phone calls, phone banking. So all these things, we're also going to be working with the party or the DNC to have like parties, phone banking parties, and so that it could be like this. And I've held several of them in the past in other groups, so hopefully we can get that done also. Anyone has any questions for?
I mean, no question on my side. Obviously, Mr. Kelly, thank you so much for the advocacy you guys are doing for democracy abroad. And obviously, like you said, just by 40 or 50 votes in small little towns and stuff, those little marriages make a big difference. So it's important that everyone is educated. It's important that everyone participates to make a difference.
There's a question in the chat that
Yeah.
says, can people living outside the US register now? Like I guess for the first time.
Yes.
I have a question. I think someone answered something close to it. Hi, Bishop. Good evening. This is Ike. Quick question. Outside of calling someone who lives abroad to register, how else can we help your organization to muster that base? Because that's a very unique number. If you have about 6 million people and only 14% voted, we need to increase that number one way or the other. So outside of just picking up the phone to call, what else can we do as an organization?
Well, I mean, money always helps. But for the most part, the DNC obviously would be helping us there. But maybe just offer your time, there's a lot of different kinds of things that you can do, depending upon your skill set. Marketing, digital communication, social media. You don't have to necessarily live in Germany to be effective, because, as I said, it's in a a wide array of countries and been that way for quite some time. So there are a number of things you can do. If you go to our website, you probably will also run into a list or two. But I think the opportunities there are so vast that I don't think this call could do it justice, and nor can my memory of all of those things.
All right, Bishop. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ike.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bishop. So we were supposed to have another speaker, but she has not come here. However, we'll continue going on, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Sharif to go into fundraising mode for us, please.
I mean, again, thank you all. Obviously, the speakers and the committee members, and as well as the participants on the call for joining us tonight. It's a midweek Wednesday night. Thank you for taking your busy schedule to be here with us. Obviously, we all have been moved by the ton of events with Harris, Vice President Harris being the Democratic nominee to be the next president. And obviously, we know the risk that our community, especially the immigrant community, is involved with. So we all have to kind of step up. And the fact that we have created this environment where Africans in the diaspora could have a dedicated donation link through the Harris campaign. And obviously that gives us, we get credit for donating, for that this donation came from our community and somewhat could be impactful in respect to, I know individually, we all donate at some point in form, but it's important that we do those donations through the dedicated link that's dedicated for Africans in the diaspora that's supporting Kamala go to the White House. I know we have done a lot of donations since this is our third week now. I'm not sure as Fanata has any updates about how much we've raised so far. I know our goal is to raise about $1 million before the end of the elections, and that's what we've been doing, and we've had great reception so far, and we're going to continue to grow. And thank you to everyone that's been here. And obviously, if there's any of the committee members want to share their whys, please feel free to do so.
Yeah, we've raised $22,329.83.
All right, I see it's slowly glowing up, and obviously we got to reach out to all our contacts so we could get that level to go up a bit better than that. But we're going to try to do it on a weekly basis or daily basis. So, is anyone on the planning committee want to share or say something and talk about their why are we here, why you guys participating? Here, Mayeni, you wanna tell us about your why?
Certainly, I was just about to raise my hand, so it was right on time. Well, good evening, everyone. Well, first of all, of course, we are all beyond ecstatic as it pertains to Ms. Harris's campaign and the fact that we've pivoted, right? And so I was going to participate. I am a Democrat. I do my best to be as involved as possible. Some years, more than others, but this opportunity is prime, and so I think that not only having the Harris campaign, and we pivoted from the other option, but I do feel as though even working with this particular organization and this particular committee is different, right? My parents are immigrants, but I born and raised as from an immigrant parent, so I know the impact that we have in this country. It's immeasurable. And I think this is a good opportunity for us to show what our numbers look like and the impact that we have in this country. And so I'm all for it. I think we just need to I honestly, I'm just kind of getting accustomed to this. So I thank you, Fatima and Dr. Sharif, for this opportunity. I believe that we can really, make some movement. And yes, I mean, the African diaspora, we're real. We we contribute heavily in this economy. And so I think this is a good time for us to show who we are meaningfully. So I'm here for it. And again, thank you so much for this opportunity. And I will do my best to ensure we meet our goal.
Thank you, Miami. Thank you so much. I believe someone is asking about the donation link. It's on the chat box there. I'm not sure. Let me see who asked about that. So we do have, I believe, is anonymous attendee. So the donation link is on the chat box. You can see it there. Let me.
And when is our deadline for our goal? When are we supposed to meet this deadline, the time frame?
Well, ideally, we don't want to really put a deadline. I think as soon as possible. The earlier we have money, because obviously the sooner the campaign get that money, the sooner they could move the money where it needs to go to. It's going to be a tight campaign. Obviously, it's going to be very competitive, especially in the swing states. So whenever it's possible, every dollar counts, and let's get it going.
All right,
We do
fantastic.
have a goal as an organization, Africans
Right.
in the diaspora for Kamala Harris. We have a goal of raising about $1 million before the end of this election season. I hope the person who asked the question about the donation link could see that on the chat box there.
All right, just put it back in there. It's right
So
there.
I see my brother Ike there. But Ike, any pep talk this week, sir?
Nah, man, I'm good with the pep talk. This is action mode. You
I
know,
hear you, sir. I hear
enough
you.
enough of the talking. If I had my way, I would try and get everyone on this chat tonight. There's almost 100, almost close to 100 people here. If
Right.
we could all just do $10 right now before the end of the Zoom call, just to support this campaign, because for you to be here, that means you either believe in Vice President Kamala Harris as being the next president, or you believe in someone who invited you to believe that Vice President Kamala Harris should be the next president of the United States of America. And the very fact that you've taken out your time to be on this call is big for us. But hey, I'm asking you to take one more step and just dip into your pocket, take the link that just gave to you, and just give us $10, 20, 100, 1,000, whatever it is on your mind, donate tonight. And you can boldly say, I did something for this campaign when the time comes.
Well, brother Ike, you've moved me. I've donated before at least 3 times. I'm gonna go ahead and donate $100 now while we're on those calls. So I'm gonna go now and donate myself as well.
That's what I'm talking about, brother.
Thank you, sir.
Walking the walk and talking the talk. Everyone else just do the same. I'm gonna do the same as he talks. All right. I see my sister shaking her head. That means she's about to bring out her card too to do something.
Absolutely.
I do you there. I see you. I see you. All right. Who else? Pamela? Oh, yeah. Pamela's shaking her head. That's a good one.
Well, even all the participants as well. Please feel free to
Yes,
join in.
everyone.
That
Please.
link is there. You guys can see it.
Let's just up the number. We can easily do it. Easily.
Yes, sir. I'm doing mine right now. I'm working on mine right now, so speak.
So I'll help you, Dr. Sharif. And
Yes, sir.
here, if you're on this call and you're listening and you see what is happening, go ahead and make your contribution. I came up with the acronym RSVP. You have an opportunity to RSVP your place at the table. at the table with Madam President Kamala Harris. This is very, very important to us, especially the African continent. For too long, we've not been at the table. And when you are not at the table, you are part of the menu. And we've been the menu for so long. So the question I will ask each and every one of you, as you look at this campaign going on, who is more likely to stand in support of human rights and democracy in Africa? Who is more likely to open pathways for scholarships for STEM and digital learning for the children of Africa? Who is more likely to provide opportunities for growth and increase visa opportunities for the youths of Africa? Who is more likely to support the wave of Africans, young youths asking for a place at the table? You know, Africa is made up of 70% youth right now. You know, I come from Sierra Leone, and the Sierra Leone population is 75% youth. We need to open a pathway for youths to experience what we have experienced. And the option is joy versus weird, absurd versus happiness. I mean, it's a stark reality of what we face. We are struggling with stability in Africa, and we need to be at the table. And this gives us an opportunity to be at the table. You know, North Carolina, as I said, I've predicted it 2 weeks in a row, is shifting. North Carolina is going to turn blue. I see it, and it is happening. And we on the ground in North Carolina, we are pushing it on the front. So I'm going to appeal to you that you have a place in this fight. So let's go with my RSVP. Remember this and take it to those you talk to. You have to RSVP your place. And by coming tonight, you've already accepted the RSVP to be at the Kamala Harris Waltz table. Now, the R is to make sure you register. Because if you come to all this show and you're not registered, it's not going to help you. And also make sure your friends and relatives and those who have voter apathy, convince them to go register, because it's important. Every vote counts. Last week, we had a shadow representative from DC who stated that he won an election by 1 vote. So that could very well happen. So get your folks registered, and that's the R in the RSVP. The S is to support this campaign with your dollars. And if you cannot, convince others who could support the campaign with their dollars. We all have friends who could support $50 or $100 if we cannot. So that commitment from you is very important. That after you register and get other people to register, the S in the RSVP is to sponsor this campaign. The V is to vote like your life depends on it and the continent's survival depends on it. And not only you vote, convince your friends, your relatives, and everyone that you know who is a citizen living in the US and abroad to register and go vote. Make sure you take them, convince them. Early voting starts pretty soon. In North Carolina, I always do early voting, so I have time to run after other folks and convince them to go vote. And the P in the RSVP is to promote this campaign. Promote this campaign. Every moment you get, talk about it in your respective communities, in your organizations, wherever you go, you need to promote it. because we are standing on the shoulders of those who were brought here to build this country. And now they're talking about we have to go back. We're not even go back to history now, we're going back to Africa. We are here to stay, and we're going to be at the table. And we're going to make a difference this time around. When we have a President Harris and a Vice President Walz, we will try to get to the table so we are not the menu anymore. And when we're at that table, we would advocate for scholarships, for programs, for funding, for human rights, and for all issues relating to democracy to make sure the 54th country that we are representing are addressed in a meaningful way at the table. So please go in, even if you're not planning tonight, give $5 just for tonight to say, yes, I just reserve my place at the table. Then you could choose to give $10, $15, $20 later and convince someone. And also we invite you all to join us. This is not us, the panel alone. If you would like to be where I'm sitting and speak next week and the week after, put it in the chat, contact Fatmata, contact Dr. Sharif, join us in the planning meeting. And you would be able to have an opportunity down the road to address your why. And when you do that, you've already RSVP. So please join us. It's not an exclusive club. It's open to everybody. And since we've started, we've invited 10, 15 people. I who just spoke was not initially part of the planning committee, is part of us now, and so are many other people. So please send your email, contact Fatmata, contact Dr. Sharif to be at this table, and you would let your children's children and ancestors know that you made a difference. And that's what we're trying to do. So you all thank you and make your contribution. And remember, RSVP, register, sponsor, vote, participate. Dr. Sharif, I turn it over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Gold. Thank you. Thank you. I definitely just RSVP myself. I just donated $100. Like you said, every dollar is a good dollar. $1, $5, $10 is good, especially for the committee members as well as the participants out there. The link is there. Please feel free to donate. It's minimum $5. Let's just donate. It's fine. Just go and donate. And thank you for the pep talk. This really got me going, and we really appreciate that. Famata, anything for you? I know it's pretty late where you are. You're 6 hours ahead of us. I don't know how you do it, but thank you for being part of this.
So not much except Bishop, somebody asked where can they register online or at the embassy? Bishop Kelly?
I think on the website should be a good option. The Democrats are abroad on the website. They should be able to get all those details on the website.
Okay, so Eustacia, did you hear that?
And Fatma, there are some emails popping up on the link. These are folks who may want to probably join us in the planning and bring their why and bring other folks and bring their talent and skills. So I hope we are catching some of these emails from folks who may want to participate.
Maureen's keeping track of all those things for us.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, we are. So anyone have any questions from the participant, please feel free to drop your questions.
So we have a tradition that ends getting close to the end of the meeting, which we showcase who we are, where we live, so we could build capacity And so I am from Sierra Leone, live in North Carolina. So if you could type it in the chat so we know who we could connect with, who could connect with what, because we are in a battle state right now. We are rising to the top to overtake Pennsylvania. As you could tell, VP Harris is going to be in North Carolina this week, and the other guy was here today. And it was low energy because I was close to that area in the rural area going to Asheville. The energy is not the same in North Carolina like it was in the last 4 years. So I could tell you there is a dramatic shift. And with college opening in North Carolina, the HBCUs, you are going to see wonders happen in North Carolina in the next 2 weeks. So please keep putting your information out there, states and countries, so we're able to connect with each other. It's very, very important. And if you're not planning to donate today, just give $5 to anchor your seat and you could make contributions down the road.
Thank you. I mean, something I've observed this time around is it's just amazing to see Republicans publicly going out to say they're going to vote Democrat this time around, just to preserve the Republic itself and to preserve the Republican Party itself, because I just feel like the MAGA strain of the Republicans have taken over their party. They don't even recognize their party, to the point I've never seen Republicans publicly saying they're going to vote Democrat just this time around, just because this guy is a threat to democracy itself. So it's interesting times that we live in currently.
And so you could imagine, just to piggyback, Dr. Sherif, on what you're saying, if this guy who is a threat to democracy wins in America, could you imagine what the African dictators would do? Could you imagine what would happen to democracy in Africa?
Yeah, he will embolden most of the African presidents. He will embolden bad practice and bad behavior, because how can the U.S. hold the other countries accountable when we're doing the bad things as well? So it will be another place we all want to be in.
Okay, we are getting a lot of people interested in being involved, which is so great. So we will be reaching out to people. The website is in the chat about registering for those who live outside of the country. But we see a lot of people putting in where they're from and their email addresses, and we will be getting back to you guys. And we so appreciate your interest in getting engaged and involved. So yeah. If anybody else has anything to add.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, for those who didn't capture initially, the purpose of this group, Africans in the Diaspora for Kamala Harris, is just for us to collectively get together. There are Africans from all over. Our sister Pamela is from Cameroon. We have brother Ike there's from Cameroon. We have people from Nigeria, people from Maureen, from Kenya. I'm from Sierra Leone. So we just have different people from all over different part of the continent, as well as different states. And we just want to make sure collectively we get counted this time around, because individually we all donate to some degree. And it just makes sense for us to get together to kind of collectively get credit. And we do have the dedicated donation link where we could get this amplification of our donations collectively. We could get the credit for that. So thank you all, obviously, for participating. And those who want to be part of the planning committee, we want to welcome all of you guys. We want to see some diversity in countries, diversity in states as well, and certain subset of skill sets that you could bring to the table. And you guys are all welcome as brothers and sisters, so we can take this group to the next level, and obviously reach our goal of raising $1 million as Africans in the diaspora.
Awesome.
So everyone, I'm going to put the email address in the chat. So everyone, I see you're putting your email addresses, and it's great. We're going to capture it. But if you can, please follow up with an email to that email address. I've already responded to Chalvik. He had already sent an email before. So if you can just send an email to us in that email address, I'm going to put in the chat. Okay.
And I see participants from Kenya, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, this different countries. So this is very exciting. And this is the whole purpose of this. We want to see diversity of Africans in the diaspora from different part of the continent to participate. We know individually all of you guys have been donating, but we want to collectively amplify our donation. So we have a dedicated donation. Even if you have $5, don't donate directly to the DNC. Donate through our donation link, so we'll be able to get credit for it. So our efforts could be amplified. And we've been seeing those efforts within the last couple of weeks. So thank you guys for obviously partaking to this event. And we're all moved because obviously some of us have been lucky to be here and have achieved certain level of lifestyle. And we want to make sure those behind us could come behind us and enjoy what we've enjoyed as well.
I see somebody's from Rwanda.
Rwanda, excellent. And Uganda as well.
Yes.
Right? Excellent.
That's great.
Excellent. We're going to capture all those emails and we want you guys to be part of the story. And if one of you guys could reach to 10 other people to donate and to participate. And soon we're going to get some feedback from the campaign where we're going to, as a group, do voter registrations, get out the vote, phone banking. It'd be lovely for us to have over 3,000 Africans in the diaspora joining a phone bank. And you can imagine that's going to crash the phone bank. So let's participate. One person reach out to 10 people from your community, so we all could be part of this special moment, and let's make it special.
Go ahead, Maureen.
Yes, thank you. Hi, everybody. Good evening. Good morning. So I wanted to mention something real quick. So today there was an incident where some of the participants who registered for this meeting, they claimed that they were getting calls from unknown numbers, especially if you're in any WhatsApp groups. And whoever is calling them, they're telling them that committee members from this group are calling them. But I just want to make it known that we do not call anybody asking them to register for this meeting. The only way you're able to get into this meeting is by registering through the official Zoom registration link. So you have to put in your name, your email address, and then you'll get a confirmation, just the usual way that you register for a meeting, a Zoom meeting. So we do not call anybody. So if you're getting any calls, or if you hear anybody from any WhatsApp groups that you're in claiming that, just know that that is a scam. So do not answer to that. Do not pick any calls from those people. Just be careful. Thank you.
Yeah, and obviously, just to reiterate, Maureen, these are the times when those who scam. Obviously, no one from this organization is going to call you. These are all done digitally. An email will be sent out. You get to register, and that email will get back to you, and you get to go back on the link. So no one's going to call you on WhatsApp to tell you to give them a code so you can join. If anyone does that, you know it's a scam. Just hang up the phone on them and just delete that number. We don't do that, and that will not be done. Obviously, in times like this, these are things that you're gonna be careful. And usually, when people call you urgently and hasty, you know something is wrong. When they're urging you and like as an emergency, you have to do this right now. Tells you that's always a red flag. We're not gonna call you. Emails will be sent out for you to register. There are links all over the social media for you to register. And I am so excited to see all those response on the chat box with people's names and different parts of the states they're from, which their original countries and the continent. It's so lovely to see the diversity of the countries from different countries in Africa.
Okay, so my apologies. I just yawned and I hate doing that in public. So But I saw someone asked about whether we have a WhatsApp group. We only have a planning group right now. We have been talking about having a general WhatsApp group, but again, part of the dangers is what Maureen just said, which is when you have this open forum in a WhatsApp group, there are these dangers of people being scammed and things like this happening. We don't have that. So, any sort of scamming that's come out is from another group that has nothing to do with ours, because we don't have a WhatsApp group. So whatever group you belong to, if somebody calls you from that group, it's whoever is in that group. Their phone has been hacked. Okay. But we're talking about that. We'll see what we do. We might we're still trying to iron it out and see how we can do it safely for people and protect people, and so we'll see. Okay.
I see Christopher just posted the donation link. The donation link is there for those. Someone said they don't have Facebook, so obviously we have your email. We'll be able to send you subsequent registration links through your email. So if you could drop your email, we'll be able to have that information as well. And obviously, like we said, every dollar worth has a value. If you could donate $5 today, $10, $25, $50, $100, whatever you can afford, just make those donations. Like Dr. Bull says, to RSVP to secure your seat. Let's make sure we secure Pamela's seat in the White House. That's the plan, and make sure collectively, as Africans in the diaspora, we are getting credit for this. Sister Pamela, you've been quiet. What's going on? Let's hear from the West Coast.
Well, good evening, everybody. I think you guys have said all the right things, so I didn't want to label the obvious, except, the updates that we have recently. I think everybody's here knows that the option that we have is not even palpable for anybody. I'm a Democrat, but when I came to this country, I didn't know about Republican or Democrat or whatever. I went with the platform that I felt addressed my needs. And so I'm just trying to say to everyone that's listening, I know we're all here because we share one vision and we have the same candidate in mind, but what would bother us is if we do not actually take action. It's kind of like people that pray and never take action. They're sick, they won't go to the hospital, they'll pray. So politics is the same thing. If you wish and wish and wish and not take action, then you'll be left with the status quo and you can't complain. I've been saying this every week. We have to participate. I'm not a political head. I used to say I don't like politics, but then I realized if I'm not sitting at the table, I'm going to be on the menu, like our brothers have said. Bishop Kelly said something very important. Let's take that message home. Tell all your relatives back home who are citizens that they can, because a lot of African immigrants are not necessarily here. Sometimes they're on vacation. And that's the missing link for us diasporans, is that we are not born here, and so we don't know the inner workings. So now we know that if we travel, we can still participate. So that was I think that was, some people came late, so I think we should let them know that if you have relatives or if you plan on traveling, you can still participate in the process. And I hope that maybe next time we'll have a recap of that as well, because that is very important. The 6 million or so there are immigrants, Black immigrants that are out in the motherland and beyond, abroad, we need to make them know that they can still participate, they can donate, and they can register to vote. He said, if you can't, if it's late for you to register in your own state of origin, states like, you catch me, maybe New York or the District of Columbia will still let you register. I just would love everybody to register, not to take one vote for granted. Birthright citizenship is on the line for those who don't know. Those of us that have lived here and had children here, automatically our children were citizens. But now Fatmata can speak better to that. She's an attorney. Moving forward with Project 2025, or whatever it's called, and Trump's agenda, subsequent families coming up may not be able to have that right, be able to come here, have your children, and then be citizens. And to think that this country is a nation of immigrants, which means once you're on this soil, if you have children, those children are immigrants. That is on the line. So maybe we don't understand what is at stake. I would normally not even endorse any candidate. I'm someone in media, I like to stay neutral. But this time around, if you look at the meme that was sent recently with Trump's agenda on deportation, what picture did he send out? People of color. And when you look at that meme, the people of color were what? Majority what? You and I. So beats my imagination why we will work against our own interests. Beats my imagination when people like me would be going Republican. This is not the time to be a Republican if you're Black. I'm just going to say it. This is not the time, because the Republicans themselves are running away and saying they don't have a party and saying the party has left them. So I don't know what you're doing there. It's time for you to just vote, and then maybe next election cycle when we have normalcy, we can then decide what we want to be. But this time around, the candidate matters. And I would just like to say that my brother has said, if we get rid of democracy in America, imagine what our dictators, mine in Cameroon, Paul Biya, we all know his story. Some of us are just doomed. So please, please, please make that donation. There's a link at the bottom. If you click on it, it will say $50 at the top, but at the bottom, there's room for you to give the amount that you can afford. Don't be scared when you see the top of it that says $50. You come down there, you can write in the amount that you can afford. So please spare that McDonald's tonight and just give that $5.
Thank you, Sister Pamela. It's interesting. There's some people who support Trump. They really forgot about from the time when he was around. I mean, you can imagine the Muslim ban. Can you imagine? They're going to be a West African ban, an East African ban. A South Africa, he might be angry with some country in South Africa and be a South African ban. And you were like, hey, I don't have nothing to do with that, but I happen to be in South Africa. And I mean, these things happen. I mean, if you were not here to see that he will just arbitrarily go ahead and say there's a Muslim ban and you can imagine, I knew a couple of kids who were coming to do their medical residency, who had visas and all that stuff. They were on the air coming to America. Just because they came from Muslim countries, they couldn't enter.
Yes.
And it was a disaster.
Yeah, and Dr. Ford, let's not forget, he has promised the most extensive deportation ever. How many of us have relatives who are still in the process? How many of us have relatives who are here and that have not gone through the process and are living in the shadows? How many African immigrants, and they get the most deportation, by the way, because we never speak up. Africans are the fastest to be deported, and people don't know that, but that is a fact. So if he's promising this, I can promise you, if you have any uncle or auntie or sister or brother living in your house who is not regularized, whose immigration status is questionable, you can be sure that he or she will be deported. So please don't work against your own interest. I know all of us that are participating right now, all of you out there, believe in this mission. But let's take this message. Let's not be shy. Let us really sensitize the community. Let it not be about a democratic thing. Let this be about the candidate. Please.
Thank you. And lastly, obviously, the key is donation. Donate. Reach out to other people you know so they can participate next week. And if you have $5, $10, $15, $20, $100, please donate. That link is on the chat box there for you to donate. And let's donate collectively. Let's get a collective credit so we can amplify our efforts. I know my dear sister Mahani is kind of excited. What do you want to say, Mahani? You look excited.
No, I mean, I definitely am. And just listening to, everyone's message. Yes, let's RSVP. And again, I think we underestimate the amount of power we have collectively. The bishop talked about the numbers, right? And we have powers in numbers, let alone, what we do on a day-to-day basis, be it, working in this country or our educational background, our experience. I mean, if we mobilize, or when we mobilize the way we're doing now, and we take this seriously and able to take it to the next level, we are going to make our mark, which is very important. As the bishop said, we're not sitting at the table anymore. It's time. And with time to sit at the table, we're not going to be on the menu. So it's time. So I'm excited. And again, I am, we are, it's for me, and, being in the Sierra Leonean community, primarily in the US, especially in the DMV area, We know we have the numbers. We know there's a lot we can do. So to my DMV family, let's get it. It's time.
Thank you. Thank you. So Famata, I know you are 6 hours ahead. You are tired, you're yawning. What would you like to say? Tell us.
So as we come to the final hour minute, I am so appreciative of everyone here. You guys make my heart full. Everything you guys have said, there's not much else to be said other than thank you for being here. Thank you for what you're adding to this whole process. And I feel so proud and happy and excited that this little gem of an idea is becoming so beautiful and just something that's gonna, I believe honestly, is gonna go beyond this election cycle. And I'm excited for that. And yes, many, many, many immigrants, especially Black immigrants, live in mixed households, right? Mixed households, meaning you have citizens, permanent residents, undocumented people. You have all these people living in one space. Be aware that it impacts families beyond just those who are undocumented. It impacts jobs. It impacts job creators. There are many people who are job creators who are not necessarily documented, but they have businesses that hire people who are documented, who have their papers, and who are making a living. So there's a wider net, right? And sometimes we don't think about that. We don't think about the children whose parents now have to be deported. And now what happens to these children? Either they are deported with their parents, but they're US citizens, or they're put in foster care because their parents are now being removed. So there's a domino effect to everything that happens. And as immigrants, we really need to make sure we think about that. Let's stop thinking about I've made it, I've done my own, and now you need to do whatever. The idea that, these other people that are coming now need to stand in line. Most of us, especially most of us who are Black African immigrants, came to this country documented, and we became undocumented, and then filed for our papers, and then got our papers. Let's not pretend that we came here with everything kosher, because many of us did not. We went through the process while we were here undocumented. That's many of us, including myself here. I was what you would call now what you call dreamers, right? I was that child who didn't have her papers. I was that child who was going to school with nothing. I was that student who didn't have a green card and had to work to pay for her tuition. That was my life, and many of them are in that space right now. And so we have to think beyond what we have earned now. I didn't become an attorney overnight, right? None of the people you see here became what they became overnight. There's effort that went into it. And some of us had to, be here uncertain about what tomorrow will bring. Is the door knocking going to be somebody coming to get me or coming to get my mom? You understand? So we have to think beyond us and think beyond this basic stuff about, oh, he's going to do better for the economy. I don't know what university he didn't do it before, but sometimes that's what we say, right? As Black people. And I'm hoping that we can know better, especially as African immigrants and immigrants in general. But this has been a great call. We have raised now, remember what I said at the beginning, what we had. And just this call, we have now raised, $23,058.32.
Wow. Very good. Very good. Thank you.
Right? So we've done really
guys.
well.
Thank you all for all your donation. Every dollar counts.
Okay. So thank you, everyone. On that note, it's 9:55 for you. It's, I don't know, 3:55 for me. But it's so great. You guys give me energy and give me life. So I will say good night or good morning, and I will see you guys when I get back to the States. And thank you very much, everyone. I'm going to stop the sharing and stop the recording. Okay.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all. Thank you all. Let's continue to stay engaged.
Thank you.